New Zealand is a country that seemingly has it all. In this series, I'll be taking you along every step of the way as we explore the best this country has to offer via road, rail, trail, bike, bus and boat. I'll be explaining its geology, wildlife and history, reviewing its many attractions and offering tips and advice for your own travels to this enchanting land. Built into the hillsides of a beautiful harbour, Wellington is New Zealand's charming capital, home to a world-class movie industry, museum and eco sanctuary. Over 2 visits, we explore all this and much more. After a long drive today, we finally arrived in Wellington. We're staying on the south side of Wellington, right by the beach here, and we just went for a very good meal at a vegetarian restaurant just around the corner. Guys, what do we think of the vegetarian restaurant?
Yeah, very good. So nice. Was really nice. Gravy all down me, it was that good.
What was it called?
The Botanist.
The Botanist. And apparently it's rated the best vegetarian restaurant in Wellington. Our Airbnb is this lovely little house in Wellington, a classic New Zealand style house with loads of character. It's got a bathtub outside, which seems to be a thing in New Zealand, as a lot of the places we've booked or looked at booking have bathtubs in the gardens.
Look at it!
You know, I definitely think the Kiwis are onto something. I could get used to having a bath in the garden. This morning, me, Kath and her dad David got up earlier than the rest to go and do the Weta Workshop cave tour. Now, Weta Workshop is of course the physical effects film production company that was made famous for its role in The Lord of the Rings, making the props, armour, weapons, creatures, all that kind of stuff. So it was really cool for me to go and visit, because I spent my childhood hours and hours watching the behind the scenes of The Lord of the Rings and how they made all that stuff. The tour itself obviously wasn't in the actual working workshop, but was set up as a guided walk through a load of the props and weapons from different films, and to be honest there wasn't much more I could learn personally, because obviously I'm a huge nerd and already know most of the stuff, but it was awesome anyway to get up close and see the weapons and the costumes that are so famous in the films, and you get to feel kind of what the silicon's made of or what the prosthetics are, get up close with animatronics, have a little play, and then at the end you get this nice little bit with someone that's actually sculpting something. So we had a sculptor sculpting a giant skull, and he went through the process and how he does it. Well, we've made it to the top of Mount Victoria after a rather sketchy drive up here in the minivan around the hilly neighbourhoods, but look at the views from up here. Okay, so we're now on the other side of Wellington, near Kelburn, which is at the top of the cable car. We're just grabbing some food at the Cable Top Cafe. So we came down the cable car and just had a bit of a wander through the city centre and now along the harbour side, and from the brief time we spent here this morning, I'm already really loving the vibe here. Very chilled out, very laid back. The population of Wellington is only a couple of 100,000, which I think helps, and obviously all the time you've got these fantastic views over the harbour, so this is definitely my kind of city. I really quite like it so far. We're now in the Te Papa Museum of New Zealand, which has loads of exhibitions, many of them for free, all about aspects of New Zealand life. The nature exhibition was really well designed, some really great interactive displays explaining how earthquakes or volcanoes work and what to do in them, as well as a fantastic bit about the threats to native New Zealand wildlife and about climate change as well, with even a climate pledgeable where you could pledge what you're going to do to reduce your own effect on climate change. We just went through the exhibition on Gallipoli, which is about New Zealand's role in the Turkish offensive in World War I. And again, it was really, really well done, telling quite harrowing stories through interactive displays. What was particularly poignant was the giant models of certain scenes or individuals from the battle, and the incredible detail and realism of them really brought those stories to life. And funnily enough, we actually saw how those giant models were made this morning, because they were made by Weta Workshop. So from what we've seen so far of the Te Papa Museum, I'm really, really impressed and would definitely recommend it, especially as it's free to get in and do most of the exhibitions. And I think we will actually return there again when me and Kath return to Wellington in a couple of weeks. After thoroughly enjoying our first day in Wellington, we set off on an incredible adventure around the South Island, already seen in previous episodes of this series, where we eventually said goodbye to Kath's family and made our way back to the north, ready to find out what more the capital had to offer. Good morning. After several weeks exploring the South Island, we are back in Wellington and very excited to finish looking around this wonderful little city. Do some of the things that we missed out on last time. This time it is just the two of us, me and Kath. Strangely, we're staying in student accommodation at Victoria University because in the summer months when a lot of the students aren't here, they rent out the apartments for fairly cheap. We have come to Zealandia Eco Sanctuary, which is a huge protected area of land just outside of central Wellington. Because New Zealand has been separated from any other country for 80 million years, the only land mammals they have is some species of bat, which means all the native birds and everything here haven't ever had predators. But since the humans came, they've introduced some predators and pests like rats, cats, stoats, possums that either hunt the wildlife or carry diseases which seriously affects them. So this sanctuary is built with a perimeter fence to stop those predators getting in and enable the native wildlife to grow and flourish here. You have to go through biosecurity when you come in, but it means you can come and watch all this native wildlife where it's completely protected.
Look how small it is. They were so small, like this big. Oh no, it's breathing.
I'm no bird watcher, but this is really interesting when you're just walking through these paths and you spot a bird walking past, or you hear rustling in the bushes and you're trying to work out which species it is. Or it's just so peaceful when you stop and listen and all around you you've got these really unique sounding bird songs. We're now at the Reservoir Dam, which is really the furthest point in the park you can get on the accessible trails. We've walked all the way up this valley. We started somewhere right down there, but the whole park carries on quite a bit further in that direction past those hills, but those are really all hiking trails, and you realise just how big the scale of this whole park is and how much room all the wildlife has to flourish. This large flightless bird is a Takahē. They were once thought to be extinct. Now they are critically endangered, so really special to see one, but very odd looking, almost prehistoric, like a dinosaur. Their big feet, big beak, big body. All the proportions are very odd. We're now heading out of the sanctuary back to the Welcome Centre. We're going to grab something to eat in the cafe there. But I've actually been really impressed by this experience, really enjoyed my time in the park. Seeing some of these birds that are so unique, you don't see them anywhere else in the world. And it's just so peaceful here. You know, this huge reserve, this huge valley, and everyone's very respectful of the wildlife. It's really, really nice to come. So we just got the shuttle bus back to the top of the cable car, and then right next to the top of the cable car is the entrance to the Botanical Gardens. And there's a big walking do all the way down through the Botanical Gardens, down the hillside and into town near Parliament. So that's what we're going to head off and do now. It's been a long-running joke whilst we've been away that we go to every botanical gardens in every city, but this one is really nice. I think it's the hills and the rock formations, the native New Zealand ferns. It makes it feel very tropical. Although, word of warning, I would come down this way instead of going up because it is very steep hills. So we're nearly down at the bottom of the path now, nearly reached the Parliament buildings, but I really recommend that whole walk. It was really lovely, through the Botanical Gardens, then down through the Rose Gardens, and then finally through this cemetery, where it's quite interesting just seeing these very, very old gravestones, which would have been from the first European settlers of New Zealand. It feels so good to be back on Wellington Harbour. It's such a beautiful view, and we've got amazing weather again. We've been extraordinarily lucky with the weather in New Zealand. I think we've only had 1 or 2 rainy days, and yeah, just beautiful here. This is my happy place. First stop today, we're going to head to Parliament and do a free Parliament tour that Gaff found, because we're quite interested in kind of politics and how other countries run. Well, that was a really, really fantastic tour, actually, really interesting. Unfortunately, I can't show any footage from it because literally as you go through security, you have to hand in your camera, your phone, even your sunglasses, everything, so you can't take any photos or anything. But it was really cool just to walk around the different parliamentary buildings, see their designs. The architecture was lovely, all the artwork that was on show, the pictures of previous prime ministers and MPs, to walk in the actual chamber floor, and then go down below and see how the whole building is earthquake proof as well. It was really awesome. And then second of all, it was just cool to hear about the parliamentary process and learn more about it. So we're now heading to Takahē Museum, which of course you would have seen earlier in this video, is one we visited several weeks ago, and we're really, really impressed by the exhibitions we saw, so we're going to go back and do a few more of them now. This exhibition, Passports, is about why people originally came to New Zealand and how they made that voyage. This is really cool to see an exhibition celebrating both the many immigrants and the refugees that have made New Zealand what it is, looking at their stories, the struggles they went through to get here, and what they've made of their life once they've arrived. And this part of the exhibition is about even earlier settlers, the ancestors of Maoris, and how they travelled here from the Pacific Islands. So we're basically being dragged out of the museum as it's closing time, but it's been another fantastic couple of hours here in Takahē Museum. Easily one of the most comprehensive, interesting and well-designed museums we've visited anywhere, and definitely recommend it. You could spend days here exploring all the exhibits. Certainly a great way to end our last couple of days in Wellington. We're now going to go and grab some food on the harbour and enjoy our last evening in this wonderful city. Where have you got, Kat?
Fish and chips.
Prior to arriving, my knowledge of Wellington mostly consisted of its movie industry, and whilst peeking behind its scenes at Weta Workshop was a dream come true, we discovered so much more to draw us back for our second visit. From in-depth exhibitions and tours to peaceful nature reserves and parks, as well as vibrant waterside bars and restaurants, all with a relaxed Kiwi atmosphere. It's a small capital with a lot to offer.